Welcome to PC Gaming Tech Summary. I'm your host, Gamer, and today we go over Alder Lake Z690 Motherboards and the release of the 12th Gen Intel Alder Lake CPUs, which takes place on November 4th. And now you can pre-order the DDR5 RAM and the motherboards and the CPUs. And you need to make a choice. Are you going to go with DDR4 memory, 3200 C16? Or are you going to go with DDR5, 4800 and C40? Well, I'll go through some ASUS motherboards, and they have implemented a bypass of the bottleneck there in the RAM, and they're able to reduce the CAS to 32, from 40 down to 32, see, 32. That's right. But you have to go with their ROG Strix board for that. I'm not seeing it on the lower boards. So what we have is we have the voltage control, the power management on the DIMMs themselves, and I'll show you a picture of that. And they call it Power Management Integrated Circuit, or PMIC. And this reduces the complexity of the voltage control on the motherboard. ASUS, with their ROG Strix motherboards, they have implemented a tool in the UEFI BIOS, and they call it the ASUS Memory Enhanced Profile, or AMEP. And you have two choices. You can either go with tighter timings and reducing the CAS latency, which they were able to do with the SK Hynix chips, reduce it from 40 down to 32. Or do you go for higher frequency, up to 6,000 mega transfers? Hello. What do you do? What do you do? Well, you could wait for the reviews and the testing to be done, and then plan in the future as to what to do. That's definitely an option there. I tell you. All this new technology, you got to get your head around it. So on these ROG ASUS motherboards, they're going to have a Q latch so that you don't have to use those M.2 screws, those teeny tiny screws, trying to screw down your NVMe SSDs. So they have a latch system, so you should just be able to use your hands. Also, a quick release button, the Q release, to release quickly your GPU. You push a button on the motherboard instead of having to find that release clip, which is terrible, and I've even ripped one off a motherboard before, but don't tell anybody. Okay, so the cheapest ASUS ROG motherboard, $350 US. So I'll go through a few of the ASUS motherboards that are beneath that price, I figure, well, majority of people, they're going to go with the lower price boards, but I'll explain it further. You don't want to go with the cheapest one, and the reason for that is that it only has the 1 gigabit Ethernet. Come on, man. Everybody's up to 2.5 gigabit per second. And now you want to stick a slightly cheaper one on there. And I'll show that to you. So you might want to avoid that one. I certainly would. I'd find the money somewhere to go up from that. Yeah, because it's the future. It's all about the future. You're going to have the PCIe Express 5. And there aren't any graphics cards that take advantage of that at the moment, but that's the future. So you want to be able to use this new technology, fast technology in the future. So why have slow internet? I mean, in a few years, that's going to be really slow compared to how things are going. So sit right back, have a cup of coffee, and we'll get into it. Here we have the Prime series of ASUS Z690 motherboards. Now this first one is the one I was talking about, the MATX, the Micro ATX. It only has a 1 gigabit Ethernet right here. Okay. DDR4. This next one is Z690P Wi-Fi. Now, the D4 here, that means DDR4. No D4 here, that means DDR5. Okay, there it is. Okay, and the next one is without the Wi-Fi, DDR5. Next one is full ATX, and that has DDR4 and the 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. And then this is the same one, but with the Wi-Fi DDR4. Now, this is the Prime B560 Plus. Okay, this is for 10th and 11th gen Intel. All right, and so you can get a motherboard from ASUS at this figure here, 120-ish. Okay, well, you're going to be paying double or more than double for a motherboard for the Alder Lake, so just wanted to prepare you for that. This is a side picture of the Prime Z690P Wi-Fi DDR4 motherboard. Okay, so this is what it looks like. The Z690, the Prime P Wi-Fi, that is around $250 US. The Z690P without the Wi-Fi, you're looking at $230 US. Okay, if you want the DDR4 Z690P Prime, $240 US. And the Prime Z690P DDR4 D4 without the Wi-Fi, $220 US. And that cheapest one, the Z690M Plus D4. So it's got the 1 gigabit Ethernet, is $190 US. Ballpark pricing, okay? So that gives you a good feel for it. So what I've done is I've taken the DDR4 Z690P specs, the Prime, and compared it to the DDR5 Prime Z690P Wi-Fi. Okay, put the specs side by side to see what the differences are, because the pricing's very similar whether you go with DDR4 or DDR5 as far as the boards are. Okay, so if we scroll on through, socket 1700, okay, turbo boost, and okay, CPU chipset, memory, you either got the DDR4 over here or you've got DDR5 over here. Dual channel, XMPs, so they use the XMPs here. So it doesn't have that
new voltage control profile that I was telling you about earlier. Okay, so if we just scroll through here, I'll go a bit quicker, so not to bore you. It is very similar. I mean, these specs are very similar. Not seeing much difference. Okay, you're going to get 3 M.2s, and they're Gen 4. Gen 4. 4 SATAs. 4 SATA ports. Okay. Ethernet, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet. Now I noticed over here that on the DDR4 board it's got ASUS LAN guard, but then when I scroll back down over here, it's got LAN guard here and LAN guard here, so let's not worry about that. Okay, wireless, Bluetooth, it's all the same. We got Wi-Fi 6. Okay. Bluetooth. We've got the USB ports. Audio. It's the same. Okay. So all of these are pretty much the same, okay? All the specs of it. And the DDR5 board has got 2 RGB headers, while the DDR4 has got 1. So I don't know why they did that. Okay. And sort of the same stuff. Okay. All right. So there you have that.
Thanks for joining us here on PC Gaming Tech Summary. And don't forget, you'll be seeing me in the next video.